What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Goon Platoon, another episode this week. And we have Kurt and we have Paul. What's up, you guys?
What's going on?
We've got Justin with a slight microphone problem. So if he does sound a little different this episode, please don't spam us in the comments. So
yeah, something's up with my mic.
That's all right. We can still hear you. So other than that, what's been going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Good, man. Just dealing with this recovery from the shoulder and bicep tendon surgery.
How's it going?
I know it's fool's gold, but I'm 4 weeks post-surgery and it feels great. I'm like, let's go. But I know the doctor's like, this is the most dangerous part of the recovery because he said, you'll feel good. You'll feel like you can go back in the gym, and that graft is not healed. So they reinserted my bicep tendon up at the top of my, right here by my armpit. So yeah, I know I got to take it easy. They said about 4 or 5 months before I can go back to full lifting.
Dang.
With a little bit of Serostim, we can probably speed that up, right, Kurt?
Absolutely.
Did you feel like you had to get off a lot of stuff before you went to surgery, or no?
I've been pretty much just on TRT since my show, man. I haven't really been running anything. I'm just on 200 mgs of test right now. And I've been off of growth hormone since the beginning of the year. And I got
a question for you on this topic, actually. What's the current medical thoughts on going off everything before surgery? Because if you remember Orville Burke, he had tricep surgery under general anesthesia, and he ended up in a coma. And at the time, all the hype was that he was still on all this stuff. I never really fully understood how that would affect anesthesia, but
no, it doesn't. And they only care about your heart and your lungs, that they function. Everything else they can support. And what was the reason for anabolics 50 years ago? It was to support wasting, right? I wouldn't come off. I mean, if you're running 5 grams a gear, probably not smart to go into surgery on that. But I mean,
you need surgery.
And honestly, all the doctors I know, especially anesthesiologists, half of them are on gear. They might not say you go in, but all the doctors I know do steroids. They don't give a shit what you're on. As long as your heart and your lungs function, they'll put you under.
My doctor was pretty open-minded about everything. He did tell me he wanted me off the GLP-1 before the surgery because of, he said, the slowed gastric emptying. And then with the anesthesia, and he said there's also some issues with the GLP-1s causing people to aspirate food while they're under, which I wasn't aware of. But so I yanked the GLP-1 out 2 weeks beforehand. I was running retatrutide. I'm on Wegovy now, but I kept the Tastin, and then obviously like fish oil and shit like that. Anything that could cause bleeding, you want to drop. I made that mistake before.
and that's more specifically the EPA portion of it that causes not the DHA portion of it. But to be safe, you probably stop before. But it's really when guys are on high EPA. So like if traditional fish oil you buy over the counter is going to be a higher ratio of EPA. That's what causes the issues.
Kurt, why do men seem to absorb the DHA better?
So it's related to estrogen production. So those enzymes that are intermediates between EPA and DHA are hormone dependent. And you see that even when you take like flaxseed oil, the conversion between ALA and LA and EPA is dependent on hormones. Women produce 5% EPA from that conversion. Men only produce 2 or 3.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Not to interrupt, but can you guys hear me okay now?
Yeah, man, we got it fixed.
Yeah, we had tornadoes come through, and we lost power. And I opened my Focusrite little app thing up, and it said no hardware connected. I still don't even know what I did differently, but I unplugged it again, and it worked.
You sound like a true professional now, Justin.
Next step is looking like one.
Well, did you? So I guess everyone saw Pittsburgh last week. Everyone talked about it over and over and over. I mean, everyone's gotten to the point where it's like Nick should have won, Derek should have won. Tyler Mannion came out and said his thing, how he had Nick winning, which added more fuel to the fire. What was your guys' take on that?
I had Nick winning, but I didn't think it was like the internet made it sound like it was like worse than Ronnie winning in 2001 at the Olympia, or I mean, I thought it was. I had him winning, but I thought it was close enough to where it wasn't like egregious. And even I think Nick's look was really interesting because it was like a nice full look, and it looked really, really dry and hard. But then I saw, I think, what's that guy, the Bubble Gut Bonanza guy? Louis Marco. I saw him post comparisons of 2024, and if you look from a pure body fat or dryness perspective, like if you look at Nick's quads, let me try to find photos. I think Nick was actually harder or a little sharper in 2024. I mean, like you have to really analyze, but I had him winning, but I didn't think it was as bad as people were acting.
It's always hard to tell unless you're fucking there, man.
Exactly.
When you're there, it's a lot clearer. But I did talk to some people that were there, and they said that he got he got the shaft. I mean, they were literally tied going into finals. I mean, they had
weird.
You didn't. Yeah, they had the sudden death, like basically like a third round. I don't know how they determined that, but if you look at the scorecards, they were tied.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. That's the first time, and I didn't know that they had this extra round protocol, which is kind of interesting, exciting for the crowd. But I don't know. It looked like to me that Nick won, but I could understand the argument for Derek. I mean, you look at him from behind. Derek is just his glutes, his hamstrings, his back are just unreal.
I found that photo. I'm gonna see if I can bring it up.
Of Nick.
Oh man, none of my stuff's working.
Yeah, you know what I noticed? The one thing that wasn't really talked about because it got overshadowed. What I don't know if you guys remember, after the Olympia last year, Martin had a really good showing, and then he went and did that show with Sebum in Prague, and people were talking about, I think Sebum can beat him because Martin came out like sort of watery. He was like losing water and stuff. It's almost like he sort of had that a little bit at this show. Like they haven't quite, like they nailed it for the Olympia, but I don't know if they've really. I don't know if they've really nailed it.
Every file I don't want to open will work, but
you putting your porn up?
No, I was joking with my cousin about that.
I don't know. I thought Nick looked, to me, it looked like I saw it prejudging, and I'm like, whoa! I think Nick's got this.
Yeah, I had him.
I was kind of surprised that I wasn't. Look, it's such a nuanced difference between these guys at that elite level. I mean, they're all fucking elite, man. It's just little nitpicky shit between the two. I mean, if you really want to nitpick, I would say that it wasn't the best version of Derek. He looked better at the Arnold, but he was definitely a little drier and more crisp at the Arnold. But I mean, he's hard to beat, man. The dude's hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at his rectus femoris and his quads, that and even like if you look at his brachioradialis or brachialis on his arms, you can see there's a tiny, or even his chest a little bit. He's fuller for sure in 2025, and his abs were really deep and detailed, which I think always makes for a better look. But
if you can find a picture of Derek from this weekend, it looked like to me that he had some sort of quad injury. It looked like his left quad looked like it might have been torn or something. There was like a divot in his quad. I don't know, man. It could have been just the angle and the lighting, but something looked funky with his quad.
You know what I was thinking about, and Kurt, you might be able to shine some light on this. From the science perspective, I've noticed with some guys that they reach their peak max size really quickly in their career, and then they chisel out later on, as opposed to guys like Dexter or some other guys who incrementally, or even you go back and look at Rolly Winkler and Phil Heath, they put on a lot of size as going to their pro. But you look at Nick, and for instance, we're comparing these photos. Nick's just turned 30. And you look at photos from when he was 27, 26, he was the same size, give or take 2 or 3 pounds, And it's I don't know. I've always noticed that. And I've always wondered, is that I guess a person dependent thing?
Like you're saying, the quality, even though the scale weight's the same, the quality's different?
I would say like just the overall size, like they blow up to that size and then they chisel away, make it harder, obviously over the years and add density. But however, some other guys, they slowly add size as opposed to like Nick, who got like really big, really fast, and then he's chiseled over the years type thing.
I think something definitely happens where you get a more three-dimensional kind of look at a similar weight the longer you go. I mean, I think if you track anyone, you can see that it's like, geez, they look like they've grown every year, even at the same stage weight. And it really doesn't seem to happen too much until you get to a certain size. Like early on in a career, you're bigger and it's obvious you're bigger. And then you get to around the size you're going to be. I mean, because I wouldn't say there's a limit, but people kind of stop growing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about, Justin. Like, if that even I don't even know what I'm saying makes sense. Like,
once a fiber is hypertrophy, that's it. Like fibers have a maximum amount of hypertrophy that they can experience, and then there's tons of fibers in a muscle, right? So a good example is like at long length. So like people are obsessed with like stretch mediated hypertrophy, for instance. So in advanced lifters, everyone on this board doesn't experience stretch mediated hypertrophy anymore. Like those are the first fibers that hypertrophy when you start lifting. So years ago for you, Jason, those grew. The ones that are growing are the fibers more the middle of the muscle or that are not activated when you're at long lengths. Not to say that you shouldn't still do a full range of motion, but it's so once a fiber's grown, it's grown. Like if you're adding things like IGF or GH in an appropriate amount, you're going to add new cells so you can continue pushing past. Probably all of us have seen that you're going to push past what God gave you to get bigger. What you're probably seeing too is just the quality. So same thing with all of us, because all of us have dieted to stage condition, and then you put on size and you diet. I think the more you diet, the more you do this, the leaner you get. Intercellular triglycerides are gone. Like remember the first time I used Trenbolone, like your muscles take on a different look, right? Like the fat inside them goes away, and that never really comes back unless you become a disgusting pig again, right? But like you develop over time that harder look. Even the scale weight's the same.
Oh, definitely. Well, yeah, and I would even say I think you can see it most clearly, like with the get leaner every time. Everyone has like trouble areas that just don't. It's usually glutes, But if you've ever followed someone, and the one that pops in my head always because I was there to experience all of it was Steve Kuklo. The first probably 6 or 7 years he competed, he never had striated glutes, and that was always the knock on him. And then one year, I believe it was for nationals, he worked with Art Atwood. And Art had a thing because Art turned pro at 245, and he had his thing that anyone who's 5'10", 5'11", that was the 245 was like his gold standard. That he thought everyone was going to turn pro at that weight. And Steve had been competing close to 260 at that point, and Art dieted him down to 245, and he got striated glutes. It was actually his worst placing ever at the national level. But the following year, he came back, won the overall straight first, dominated with striated glutes, and he never had a glute issue. Even more so, they were one of the first things to come in every prep after that. It's almost like you have these fat stories that have been kind of unshrunk since since you were a baby, probably. They're just there, and until they finally kind of get. I don't really have a physiological reason, because it'd have to be related to blood flow in some aspect, probably.
There's an alpha and beta receptor, so there's the density is different.
But but after that, he never had a glute. His glutes are always in, and it seems like you can definitely see that if you track someone's career.
It just seems like there were some guys who they reached their. Now they weren't like chiseled and dense and stuff, but like Jay Cutler, by the time he was like 29 at like the 2001 Olympia, was more or less the same size as he was, but he was different look. What I was saying was, like Phil Heath grew as he progressed. Like Jay sort of didn't grow. Like he got to a certain point and then it was just like chisel. Like, do you feel like some guys respond differently and they reach like their max and they just sort of stop, as opposed to some guys like every year put on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle type thing?
There's so many factors, right? And what like it could have been his diet maybe wasn't on point when he was younger and he's just a genetic responder to exercise, or his training was shit, or he switched drugs. Growth hormone makes a massive difference, even like because it makes your frame grow, so like you can now support much.
Speaking of,
like I lost since I saw you guys, I lost 40 pounds. Like I downsized to 200, but Paul put pictures of me. I'm the same size at 200 that I was at 236. because my clavicle grew almost 2 inches on either side. So my frame, my lats are just as wide as they were, even though I don't know where the 36 pounds went. So the quality is definitely different at a different weight. If I got back to that weight again, it would be a totally different look at that. No.
There used to be a bodybuilder that's very well known, but well known more for or less for his competition ability and more for just like his presence on social media. He's older now, but he used to sell items on his website. One of the things he would sell was not soiled. Well, he might have sold soiled trunks. I don't know, but he'd sell his old shoes for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
But you could track. It was hilarious because he'd have size 15 for sale, size 16 for sale. Then the next year, size 17. Like you could track his shoe size growth as the years went on, and they were big shoes.
For me, you can track the insulin resistance, my A1C from
over the years.
Over the years,
you guys think that Nick's pretty much set to take this one? They're going to give it to him, type thing.
I'm sorry, set what?
You think Nick's pretty much set to take New York Pro?
Yeah, I mean, with that much hoopla on the internet, I mean, if he loses, he'll lose. But if it's tight, I don't see how they don't give it to him after this.
I mean, they definitely want him on the Olympia stage, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys. I have to give a shout out to a guy who turned pro a couple years ago, and Justin, we talk about him a good amount. Vincenzo Massone. I've never met him. But man, oh man, dude, this guy reminds me of just the freaks from the 90s, dude. Like his back, he might have the best back in like the IFBB right now. And he's like 6 foot. I'm sorry, Vincenzo, if I'm messing up your height, but you're like way over 6 feet. And he's brought his legs up really well, so he matches well. You know, I'm sure it's going to take him a couple years to get a fair look just because he's newer. But man, he is just like, dude, that's a big dude. I saw him next to Derek when they brought him out first, and it was just like
holy shit, he's huge.
It was like Ferrigno and Flavio Baccianini or whatever, like back in the day. It was crazy.
That is a big dude. Holy crap!
He's real.
That back is nuts.
He might have the best back in the IFBB.
I don't have. Yeah, he does. I only have a side shot. This dude.
Good Lord,
these photos aren't working.
Hey Justin, I just texted you a picture to your cell phone of my shoes when I went to 18 units and I ripped out of both of them.
You can put that dude's back is nuts, man.
He's texted me. So everything, we're working on a generator over here, so everything's kind of like sluggish and slow. I'm a little worried I'm going to lose because we've kind of browned out a couple times. My kids don't understand that using a generator to power a whole house is rough. Yeah.
Sorry, my headphones just went dead.
All right, where are we at? Okay, I'll do. Here's Vincent first. That was recent.
He's just, he's being a tall guy, filling out the legs is always a little bit tough, but I don't know if he has a back shot, but dude.
There was some back shots on this page.
I heard there were back shots.
Yeah.
Here's the hand. Let me get the shoes. You guys move too fast for my old hands.
That's what she said.
Was that from swelling?
So that was the first time I used 18 units at Sarastem. I was walking on my treadmill and I felt like I shifted and I thought I was going to fall off the treadmill. I looked at my feet out of the sides of the shoes. They went up.
Were you splitting it up or how were you taking it?
No, 18 units a night.
How would you feel?
Explain your reasoning for the all at once at night. I like it.
How'd I feel? The only problem is the first time I used 18 units is I was very tired during the day. So I'm on 9 forever. So I've not been on lower than 9 in 3 years. Why you take it at once, Justin?
I know your reason. I just wanted you to, because I don't know if our listeners have heard you.
It's funny because medically that's the only way it's ever used. And if you ask an endocrinologist that split it up, they'd laugh at you. If you split it up, well, first of all, there's 2 issues. One, you're not getting a peak, right? You're just getting this look. So it's mimicking the natural GH secretion, but your natural GH secretion as an adult is not causing growth. You're not getting quite a peak, and you're also going to make yourself insulin resistant because you're blocking glucose uptake, and it takes 4 hours to absorb. So what are people even timing it for? inject it in the morning, you're waiting 4 hours to do cardio. Like,
Sure.
so medically, it's regardless of the disease, it's always used at night in one dose. Doesn't matter if it's 3 units for health or 18 for HIV.
The natural.
Oh, he goes. I had the sound on, but I'll show Vince.
Natural GH secretion as an adult is not causing growth.
There you go.
That is a big back.
That's Ronnie Coleman-ish, dude. When he hangs and it's just like that, when he relaxes, and that right there, like,
especially because he's tall, so that's a lot of real estate back there.
Yeah,
That's a lot of barbell rows.
No, I mean it's kind of a loaded question because there's warm-ups and various reasons for doing sets, but no, I really, I never really trained to failure. I mean, close, but like a set of squats or deadlifts or bent over rows or even like bench, it was close to failure, but I wasn't going to risk grinding out a 0 reps in reserve, bent over row with 500 pounds or a real heavy squat so I never really did to complete failure. I mean, I trained hard, but
isn't that the key? Is most people that want to train with reps in reserve, they don't train hard enough anyway, so they're looking for an excuse to not train hard.
Well, that's what always cracks me up.
How do you you all know how to train, so it's like when you're going to fail, to pull back for a rep, but like the average, go to any gym and watch people lift. You're telling me that anyone's training hard?
No.
And you don't realize that
they're failing. They're using the worst form ever to like leverage shit up in the air anyway. They're beyond.
And here I am going through contest prep with a torn labrum, torn supraspinatus, and a 70% torn bicep tendon. And I'm like, I wonder why my shoulder hurts. Is it the wind straw?
Well, if you're used to, can you guys hear me? I don't know if I have mic problems. If you're used to training with like people who do train hard, competitors and stuff, you really notice that when you train with someone who isn't that level, because I remember one time training with someone and he was like, he was into the sport. I don't think he competed, but he was a big-ish, big compared to the average guy. You could tell he worked out. So the guy at the gym wanted to train. We did a workout and I came home and I told my wife, I was like, oh my God, I got to find a way to ditch this guy. That was useless. It was worse. And then I went online and this is, years ago, and he's on Facebook posting about how brutal their workout was and not going to be able to walk tomorrow. And I was like, okay, I see the difference now.
I have, I'm not saying I train like a animal, but I have run through some training partners over the years. It's like usually leg day is what I remember one time I had this guy show up. He said he wanted to be a bodybuilder. I'm like, all right, come on in, man. He trained legs with us and I never saw him again. Like literally, I never saw him again. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, it's amazing how many training partners just always have things pop up on leg day. It's like no one ever has something pop up out of nowhere on chest, but yeah. Sorry, dude, you wouldn't believe my wife. Last minute, she told me, I know, it's leg day.
I used to go really hard when I was younger and did the DC training. That stuff, we do some crazy shit back then. It's no wonder my shoulders are wrecked now.
Yeah, as I'm older, I don't know that I would change the way I train, but I don't like. It's like after I stop competing and have lost size, it's like the injuries just all piling up at once. I don't know if it's the not being as full and strong around the joints, but I feel like I'm crumbling right now.
It's called not being on a shit ton of gear, and then you realize you're mortal.
Yeah. It stuff works. You find out when you go.
That's what I always tell people. You don't know you're on until you're off.
Things always, especially as you lose size, and Justin, you knew this because of powerlifting, like the range. Anytime you lose a little bit of weight, that range of motion bench press, like you automatically feel it.
I feel it because I've lost the same. Like Kurt, I've lost 50 pounds now. It's a different movement now. It feels like the bar's traveling 12 feet. Everything feels it doesn't feel tight. It feels like like when guys in high school when they press and it's like slow and their elbows are wobbly, and then when you're really in the groove, it's almost like you're in a Smith machine. I'm back to looking like the high school kid.
Yeah, as you get older, I mean, your training just adjusts naturally with however much tissue loss or joint issue, like because you're so used to controlling when you were at your peak and stuff, and you know how to control the weights and the eccentric, concentric, and so like you're trying to get that same feeling at a lighter weight and stuff like that. So it definitely, I mean, movements do change. Just
I had to completely reinvent my training in my 40s to keep going. There's no fucking way I could have trained in my 40s the way I did in my 20s.
Yeah.
I got away from doing all the big compound movements and pulled a lot of stuff back and did a little more volume and reps in reserve. None of this all out to failure. And you did DC training, Justin, man. It's, rest pause and force reps and the force, he would have the static holes. Yeah.
I've done it too. You get real strong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got crazy.
Yeah, those are some of my funnest workouts. There's no way I could do it now. It's like you said in your 40s, the lifting becomes, and part of it might be because I'm like not on stuff and not on real stuff, but it's like you don't go and do it bent over rows anymore, because you would just go and just bent over row until you couldn't move the weight anymore. A lot of big movements now are like joint pain mitigation. How much pain am I willing to tolerate in this set? It's almost never like in the muscle anymore. It's not. I'm not going to failure on my muscle. I'm going to failure on my pain receptors.
I do miss that going to battle with the logbook thing, though. It's hard to get up for training when you're not battling the logbook. I mean, I like having a number. I like having a goal I'm going after, and it's just like hard going to the gym and not attacking a goal.
Yeah, that's what I always say. It's not like I think DC or progressive overload or any of those are necessarily, the best by any means. But what they do is they kind of force a metric of progress that's very plain and simple and obvious, And so whether it's the most efficient way or most effective way possible, if I have a year where every other week I'm progressing in weight without changing my form or without changing my, becoming more biomechanically advantageous in a movement. If I do that for a year, there's no way I don't add muscle tissue. If I had 100 pounds on every movement, on every compound lift over the course of a year, I'm going to be bigger. It might not be the most efficient way to get bigger over a period of time, but it's a pretty guaranteed way of getting it done.
Yeah, from an exercise point of view, progressive overload is the only way, because mechanical tension is the only way the muscle grows.
Yeah.
The difference is if you're leveraging drugs and you got 3 other pathways that'll cause growth. So it doesn't, I always believed you should train still like you're natural, let the drugs do their own thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Guys don't want to believe that the drugs do all this work. Like you could see it in Trenbolone. We give cows Trenbolone. They gain 175 pounds eating grass. Drugs work. Like, unfortunately, that Lee Priest used to joke, because he lived with what was
Paul.
Yeah, he was like, Paul had the greatest genetics. He could literally mow his lawn and get healed.
Yeah. What I heard Chris Cormier once said about Paul, when someone was asking about his genetics, and he said what he felt was Paul's biggest genetic benefit was he never ate bad. He said he didn't really seem to like training, and he'd miss workouts, but he'd say anytime they'd go out to eat, he was ordering bodybuilding food, no plans to compete, hadn't even been in the gym in a month, but they go somewhere and he's ordering like bison burgers and rice. And I don't know if he just, like, you kind of get in that groove of getting used to eating that way. And it just feels, because even still today, like if I go to a restaurant, that's what my eyes are drawn to, like some weird, like, quesadilla or, some, that might be good. I just been so long since I ate stuff like that it's like my brain just internally craves meat with like a complex carb.
I'm on the pizza diet right now. This is the lightest I've been in years, man. I'm down in the 230s.
I was in John's wedding a couple of weeks ago. I wore a smaller tux to his wedding than I wore to senior prom. So I'm smaller than I was in high school right now.
That's crazy. Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I was in the 230s.
So John's the only one making progress here.
Yeah.
Dude, I gotta turn pro at some point, man. I keep bringing up those second.
I know. I can't believe you're not a pro.
That's all right. John keeps picking the worst shows to try to turn pro in.
It's all good.
How old are you now, John?
I just turned 35, dude.
Oh, Jesus. You go do Masters Nationals, man.
Well, How many weeks is that?
9 weeks.
Was that
Sounds
what's
like
going on?
well, it sounds like I should have been expecting a phone call this week saying, "Hey, there's a
Hey, there's a show coming up, Justin. Justin always
For
jokes
anyone that
about
doesn't
this.
know the joke, that's historically how we pick shows. Is John gives me a call and says, "Hey, Masters Nationals in 9.5 weeks. What do you think?" I'm like, "I thought we were going to do it, but
I
here we are."
think I've been to like all the national shows, and I think that one and North Americans, Gary's two shows are the
Mhm.
best run national shows,
Yeah.
Yeah.
hands down. They're just the best national shows.
Yeah, and that Pittsburgh area, the venue's great. There's like so many good restaurants right there.
Mhm.
Hotel's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
sort of weird, man, because like I was talking to, because I started late bodybuilding, right? I started at 27, and so I was like, okay,
That's late.
yeah. I mean, it wasn't like 15 or 16 like some guys, because I was too busy piloting, but it was one of those things where I was like, dude, oh my God, I'm 35. I was like, I'm a master's, like, and you have to almost put the ego away, and be like, because a part of me is like, well, I have to do open this. I'm like, no, man, just do the master's, do the 35, and
Daniel Hughes, a client. He's won 2 pro shows. He turned pro as a master.
it was just one of those like little ego things where it's like, but dude, the pro card's a pro card. And at the end of the day, guys like Sean Roden got his pro card at North American Masters and won his Olympia at 44. So it's like age doesn't really, it's more just how you look, man.
It's almost the opposite in this sport, because all the reasons all the hormonal stuff that you lose with age that you would get in other sports that are tested, we bypass that. Yeah, well, we
have our ways
more strongly than the other sports.
A natural level of halo testing that declines with age.
Yeah. But we don't have to even worry about passing tests or anything. But then also there's additional benefits, like thinner skin, So it's almost like I've always said, you don't really reach your peak, and I would say your peak is probably for most people 38 to 42.
Yeah.
And I think with age too, right? You mentally, like, you're more focused. You have restraint.
Oh, you're mentally, I'm way better now than I was in my 20s.
When you're in your 20s, you're reckless. You're willing to do dumb things to get there faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're married now. You know what I mean? You have a clear plan. Like, you can't just be like doing whatever.
Yeah, you're married now. You don't have to worry about being happy or doing things you enjoy outside of the sport.
Well, last year at North Americans, man, the 35 division was tougher than the open.
The 35.
That's a tough
group. Might as well. I mean, it really should be the open, because those guys are the best in the in the show pretty much every time. Even the 40 to 45 guys that's just where the sport is. It takes so long to get to the size and the muscle maturity and everything.
Yeah.
That it's the guys, the years of guys coming in like an Arnold or something and winning the Olympia at 22, that's long gone. I mean, even a uber freak like Phil Heath, what was he when he won Colorado the first?
25,
26. Yeah, because he's about my age. Yeah. So.
26. But look at him. I mean, he was a shell of what he became. When he won that Colorado, I remember seeing pictures of him. I can't remember what form, but it had like his like most muscular like cut out at the top, and we were like, oh my God, that's crazy. But then what he became later on was just wild.
Well, that's because he's like Ronnie. He wasn't natural when he turned pro, but he wasn't far from it, which is wild. And the evidence with him and with Ronnie is both in how much size they gained after they turned pro. Most guys don't add 100 pounds of tissue, period, ever while training. Like someone like Ronnie, when he turned pro at like 212, 206, so he gained 100 pounds after he was a pro. Phil, he was a heavyweight when he turned pro, so under 225 for sure. So he probably gained 40 pounds or more as a pro also.
And going back, remember we at the Arnold, Justin, we were in the room, we were watching Ronnie stuff for the show. And we were like watching, we're like, dude, Ronnie doesn't sleep. Like he would Mitz followed him around, and then like he had a meal at 12.
From the bed to the treadmill.
Yeah, and then he went to like Applebee's or something at 3 a.m. And it was like, dude, when does he sleep? Like
And he's doing
getting
cardio at
12 hours
7
sleep.
a.m. It's like, what? How does it work?
Like, I guess sleep is not that important. I don't know. Yeah.
I've never been a big sleeper. I've done just fine.
I used to be. My nickname in college was Bear, and not because of the way I looked. It was for Sleepy Bear. My roommate thought I slept all the time, so they started calling me Sleepy Bear. But now I'm like you. I don't sleep. I mean, I want to, but never 5 to 6 hours. No, I don't have an alarm. I just wake up tired somehow, but my body won't go back to sleep.
It's all that ATP.
Yeah, it's the ATP.
Yeah. That's I'm currently seeing a physician for treatment right now.
Talking about, someone brought up Keon. Yeah, Keon did a guest posing at Pittsburgh. He looked really good. I mean, people talking about him going into open. I think he'd do fine in open, but I mean, to go against guy when Samson stood next to him, it's like, okay, there's the difference, you know.
Yeah, I don't think he has enough size to hang with those guys.
For him to fit in the 212 and look like that is freaking wild. You know, I don't know. We have Lee Priest, who some people claim as, you know, if he had done 212, he would have been the best. And, you know, I always loved Lee's physique because it was like very balanced, but a little bit arm heavy, but like everything flowed, right?
Yeah. Kind of a long torso.
Yeah, the 8-pack, you know, the quads flowed and the calves, like he wasn't missing anything. But the only thing was sometimes he wasn't as conditioned. So, you know.
His is a cool look too, you know, like because you get in this sport and you learn what like a bodybuilder is supposed to look like, but there's still kind of like that superhero cartoon look where it's like really arm heavy, and so there's something about, you know, like a guy like Dorian Yates. I loved his look, but when like Lee Priest walking around or training in the gym, that looked pretty damn cool, even if it wasn't. What's that?
Crazy. It doesn't look real.
Oh yeah. Just when like his arm, I always remember he'd do a front double bicep, and his forearm to tricep were just a perfect circle. It's like his elbow was in there somewhere, but it was tricep, forearm. It was just all a big half circle.
I remember I met him in person. I don't know, early 2000s. He was fat when I saw him, but I think he might have had the biggest arms I've ever seen on a human being. And the only thing that I've seen that's come close was Nick Walker.
Oh my God, his arms
were Lee's arms wrapped around a KFC bucket.
You want to hear something? You want to hear something crazy? I was talking to Nick, and Nick told me he hasn't trained arms in years.
I believe it.
That's insane.
You believe that?
Yeah.
I believe it because I never trained biceps anyways. I would do it like a couple sets of hammer curls, but they just grew so easily. I trained triceps though, but
guy's got the biggest arms in bodybuilding and he doesn't train them.
They don't even look. They look uncomfortable. Like when they look like he's wearing swimmies. Like it looks like it would pull his shoulders out of socket because they don't even get to hang down. They're stuck on his lats.
As good as they look like from the side and stuff, I think the most impressive is that back double bicep, because you see the peak of the bicep. It's like its own separate area code, and then you've got the perfect shape
where it's like that lucky shape where it kind of swoops up towards the forearm.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like, so the peak is like there's because you can get the huge biceps, but if they're longer and flatter, you know, and they just flatten out on the front double bicep.
Well, I'm hoping that I'll have a peak now that they shortened up my bicep tendon.
Oh yeah, you got it shortened at the right side too. Yeah, you're gonna have a freaky peak.
Because I don't have any peak. I got those long biceps.
I don't have any scientific backing on this, but I've never known a bodybuilder that slept well or a lot. Jay never always seemed to not sleep that much. Ronnie never did. We're not babies. It's not like I don't think. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, but that being said, steroids don't have any effect on your health outside of sleep if sleep is compromised. Steroids also don't improve recovery. They improve localized recovery at the muscle, but recovery is in the nervous system. Your nervous system improves when you rest and you sleep. Steroids have nothing to do with that. So you still need sleep. I would say the general rule, anything Ronnie Coleman do, I wouldn't do anything Ronnie. No one that's
can't glean a lot from it.
Yeah.
Oh, Nick says he's waiting. I don't see him on the thing at the bottom.
Yeah, shit. Sorry, Nick.
There he is.
I didn't see you with the nose thing on. You're doing camouflage.
Camouflage.
I was still enjoying the show.
I'm not used to being the presenter. I got to pay more attention.
We were talking about arms. This is what we were talking. We were talking about Nick Walker's arms.
We were talking about mustaches and nasal strips.
Going for that Alex Rosie look.
Yeah, no. Nick Walker's got crazy arms. Like the fact that you guys said he hasn't been training arms, that just blows my mind. But I mean, he's got the right proportions for it though. Hey, like limb length plays a big role. I reckon if you've got like short, humerus, like it'll be really easy to fill those arms out. Whereas if you've got like a longer humerus, you'd be spending like 10 years to fill those things out.
Has Nick said anything? He had surgery on his varicose veins, I think, right? It looks like.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I'm almost positive he did. If you compare it to like 2022, he obviously didn't get them all removed because they won't remove all of them at once anyways. But
I had a friend who got some removed, and they said it was one of the most painful surgeries. Like,
get an echo from your end, Nick.
Oh, my bad.
You asshole! What's wrong with your mic?
I got
you weren't here when I couldn't get my mic to work.
My computer's been like pissing me off lately.
You got to put headphones on.
Yeah, my mouse. Let me just fix this up.
See the veins seem much. I guess you can't really see his calves very much, but it seemed like they were down the last 2 years. Like he had surgery somewhere in 2023 or 2024. I could be wrong, but that's what I've thought. But I've never seen him say anything.
Man, it would be tough to get a clot in one of those femoral arteries.
Oh yeah, you can pass a golf ball.
I know. I think he's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Nick definitely got his veins operated on because I remember one year like he came back to the stage or from like one show to the next there was like a visual difference.
Yeah,
like it looked like there were a few missing.
I remember that. I was waiting for him to say something, but he never did, and then no one else seemed to comment on it. So I thought maybe I was crazy, but
yeah, no.
That's a painful. He did have done FDR. Yeah, that's super painful, man.
Speaking of varicose veins, if you ever want to know if someone's doing a lot of site injecting in their biceps, they'll develop varicose vein, not automatically, but from the localized swelling restricting venous return, you'll start getting some varicose-like looking veins through your biceps and shoulders.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know. So there's someone who, one of the bodybuilder who, I guess he was pro for a little bit. He had that pretty. You know what I'm talking about?
Who are we talking about?
Didn't Frank McGrath have that through the?
Yeah, well, he had a lot of veins. Period.
Might not have been from that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you have that, when you're that vascular, there probably is some genetic reduction of venous return that's just kind of builds over time. I think that's what I have. I've always had veins, but they seem to get more pronounced as I get older.
Dude, you've got that Ronnie vein in your arm.
I bought it off him in 2009.
Dude, when I film you doing bicep curls, I always focus in on that because it makes your arm look twice as big.
It's a gift because I could be down 40 pounds, but as long as you're zoomed in on my bicep vein, I still look big.
Yeah. Are you able to bring up Derek's photo of his quad to see if it looks?
No, I was looking for one. If anyone knows where one is,
I guess just look up Pittsburgh.
I have been, but you guys are switching topics too fast on me.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, Nick, are you in Australia?
Yeah, I'm in Australia, so it's like 8 a.m.
What do you guys view of Lee Priest? You know, like, do you guys treat him like sort of like, oh, this is our goat type thing, or no?
I think it depends on the person, to be honest. Like I personally like Lee just because he speaks his mind. I don't agree with everything he says. I don't think he's completely transparent, but like, I mean, he's talked about his doses and stuff like that. And I guess it depends on like your stance of what you think of people who are actually transparent or just pretending to be transparent. But most people like him, I think. Yeah.
Wait, Nick,
the thing with transparency is if you get the reputation for being transparent, you can be pretty not transparent and lie, and people will believe it because you have the reputation for transparency.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nick, were you saying that's not a CC test and a CC Primo week?
Yeah, every third month. Yeah,
maybe per
Probably.
day.
this is the only quad photo I could find. I don't.
Yeah, if you look at that right quad, look up at the top of the vastus medialis, you can see like a divot.
Yeah, I
up
see what you're
there.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah, there's less striations in that VL on the right quad. Yeah, possibly like some localized swelling from either a tear or maybe a bad shot.
it's hard because his legs are the first thing to flatten out too. If you remember when he was 212, they were always so dramatically flat compared to off season or even most of his prep. So I mean, yeah, I didn't notice though, but I'm gonna go back and look.
Still getting a little bit of an echo from your end, Nick, by the way.
Oh,
I put on some headphones.
Yeah, well, when I put those in, it switches the microphone to my headphones. So I'll just I'll try something else.
Turn the volume down on the computer.
Yeah,
Lee's also. I mean, he competed. I used to have an old American Muscle magazine where he was pre-contest, and he said he was 190 pounds in the this is shortly after he turned pro. It's like 95, maybe 94, and so you probably don't need a ton of PEDs to carry 190 pounds of muscle as much as you would to carry 290. Because even if you're tall, there's only so much of that extra space that is skeletal.
And he started sort of young too. His parents were in the sport. And,
did he win his first contest at age 13?
Yeah,
he was
he's
a three-time Australian national champion by age 19, I believe.
Yeah, so
he was. 13 was his first show, and he looked better than most 16-year-olds.
Well, what's crazy because he's still early 50s. And I mean, he's been competing
or something
for 40 years practically. Yeah, he has almost. He's been competing like 38 years.
He's
like my age. I think he's like a year or two. Yeah, he's 52. Yeah, so he's like my age.
That's crazy. That's
if he didn't have that nerve issue when he got in the car wreck or whatever, and he'd still be. He'd probably still compete like NABA or something. So.
Well, he always had. I mean, he was banned from the IFBB at one point. I don't know if that's still in effect or.
No, he's back now. I saw him post a picture of his pro card last year, so they gave it back to him. Time to do the Masters.
Yeah,
I'd like to see him on stage again.
Isn't Ronnie Raquel trying to come back?
Yeah, I heard that. I saw that. Yeah, has he been training? Because I'm curious about that. Because I remember. You remember Ronnie almost came back? Was it the year after Jay? Ronnie wanted to compete in 2010 or something. And I remember like an interview with Jay where he talked about it, and I've never found it since then, where he said, like, I told Ronnie it's not going to work. He said, I tried to come, he said, even a year off. He said, even if you're training hard, he said, just because when he came, he came back in 2013. Anyways, he said, like it just didn't come back like he thought it would. And I think that's what happened with Ronnie, because I don't think he ended up getting on stage that year. And I know for myself personally, I took, 6 years off, and I came back and was back to my biggest size. But when I would diet down, it was like something just wasn't. It was almost like I had a novice look at a at a large size. It was hard to explain, but you could tell there was like a maturity that wasn't quite there yet.
Well, why did they let LeVron come back and go straight to Olympia, but then they're making Ronnie Raquel do amateur shows again to turn pro?
He's got to turn pro again? Oh, yeah, I did see something about that.
He's going to turn pro again.
They have that new rule now where you have to keep your...
I think that's what it was. That might have been
active.
Weird.
They didn't have that.
I feel bad. I mean, if he does look like he used to look, I feel bad for anybody who's ready to turn pro, all prep, killing themselves. They're telling other boys, this is the year, man. I'm on. I'm dialed in. And then you got a former Mr. Olympia competitor next to you.
He's still got the size, but it just doesn't look like
it's like, like LeBron. That's another, like something, like when you see Kevin there, like he posts photos by him, especially his upper body.
Sharp.
Yeah, there's just like there's something missing, like some depth or fullness or something that's just not quite there.
It's like it looks like like a density softness that like something's just
I'm looking at pictures of him. He's not too big now.
Ronnie. Because when he was competing at the Olympia, he looked amazing.
I always liked his look. Yeah,
very.
He looked like he could be Roman Fritz's brother.
Yeah, but
I'm on his Instagram. I'm not going to try to get another picture up here. It always takes me too long, but
yeah.
Oh, that is Roman with him, isn't it? In one of the pictures.
Might be.
Which picture?
Yeah, I mean he was big. Holy shit! Yeah, he was definitely big.
Yeah, he was top.
There was one year he did pretty well at I'll get this up. This is old. This is old where this is pretty high def, but I'll only get it up here.
Is this a new picture or an old picture?
Oh no, this is old, but it's what it used to look like.
Yeah, he looks good.
Some of those guys, man, some guys hold up well, others don't as they get older. It's really hard to hang on to the size though as you get older.
Yeah. Do you feel is it more like an every year thing, or is it like every time you take a break from something, it's hard to get it back?
Probably both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a crazy look.
Yeah. Yeah, that's full
straight.
and hard.
Yeah, that's
Was he a diabetic? I don't know if he was.
There might have been something like that. I don't remember.
I don't know.
It's probably a good chance he is now.
I'm diabetic. It's a pain in the ass, man. Bodybuilding being diabetic.
What shirt?
A lot of people just go diabetic from pushing the food.
Oh, yeah. Dustin was asking me about the chicken rice repeat shirts.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, I hated the design on those, so I never reordered them, but I need to do another chicken rice repeat design. Yeah, I don't like the. We had some for the rebranding with Troponin, but the font, something wasn't right with them. And I've been meaning to, any graphic designers out there want to do it for free. If not, I'll work on it.
Well, somebody said Ronnie, I guess he lost his IFBB status because he competed in another organization.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. And he is diabetic.
No, yeah, okay. Yeah, dude, random thought. I saw a video, even though I guess Instagram has turned into one of those like gore sites, because like every day I go on Instagram, I see someone dying on there, and like
Instagram feeds you. The algorithm feeds you what you watch.
Well, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to say how Instagram's turned into a gay porn site, but now that
I was watching a video before we got on, and this lady and her husband were zipping through like San Francisco or somewhere, like Chinatown or something, or maybe Korea. I don't know where it was, but they were zipping through, and this guy walked out from a restaurant, and this lady knocked into him. He fell back and hit his head and died.
Holy shit!
She ran him over with one of those Lime scooters. I'm like, I guess no one's to blame for that. I guess you can't get sued for that. I don't know. It's just a bad luck.
That's just called having a shitty day. A really shitty day.
He got killed by a rental scooter.
They need to teach how to fall, because if you played sports, like if you wrestled or something, I think you learn when you're falling backwards to stiffen your neck and tilt forward so you don't smack your head on.
Yeah, we did. I did jujitsu for years. They teach you how to break fall. You tuck your chin and you put your arms out when you fall, and so you spread the energy.
Yeah, but people don't do that, and they fall and just let their necks and then snap on the cement.
Yeah, you tuck your chin. You tuck your chin and put your arms out to the side. Yeah, they would teach us to slap your arms. You want to slap your hands on the pavement first. Yeah. Like it breaks the inertia.
That's an old WWE move too. It makes a loud sound.
Yeah,
like keep the kayfabe up.
Paul, what belt were you in jiu-jitsu?
A salty blue belt. I was just like I was almost a purple belt, but I need to fucking go back. And I did it for 5 years, off and on.
Do you like Islam Makhachev's view on the black belts? Brother, who give this black belts? Let me see. Let's check and see. Please give these black belts.
Well, that I don't really know anything about the sport other than of being a fan of MMA in general. But it seems like there's two black belts. There's the legit earned ones where if you're a black belt, you are an absolute world level badass. And then there's like the McDojo black belts where you know, like
man, I went to an old school Gracie school. The guy that ran my school came from Brazil, moved up here with Elio and Hickson and all those guys, and he did not give out belts, man. You earned a belt. If you got a purple belt at his school, you were a badass.
Yeah. Well, you can see that every once in a while, like was it ADCC or where you'll see in a competition where like a purple belt will just walk the competition. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, where's he train at? Because that dude ain't purple.
I was there for 5 years and I didn't even get a fucking purple belt, if that tells you anything.
Yeah. That's
awesome. Yeah. I mean, and you know, I had hundreds of hours of classes in, probably 600-700 hours of classes in, something like that. And you know, and
I bought one on Amazon yesterday.
They like it was like you had to have at least a decade on the mat to get a black belt in that academy. Probably more like 15 years, 12, 15 years. If you go to an old school Gracie, hardcore Gracie academy, they don't fuck around, man. They don't hand out black belts.
All right, someone in the comments, buy a black belt, send it to Paul so he can.
I'm gonna
have his black belt.
You gotta wear it on the live stream.
I think that's my post bodybuilding retirement goal is to go back and get my black belt.
My post retirement goal is to see the photos online of you with your black belt.
I've had to use the jiu-jitsu a couple times, man. It's come in handy a few times.
You beating up people out here, Paul, in DC?
I had a guy try to mug me, man.
Oh,
when I got twice. It's happened to me twice in the last 5-6 years. It was in Florida.
Did you actively use it, or was it just instinct? Did it just happen?
Just happened. I put dude grabbed my arm and I put him in a fucking wrist lock.
That's fun. It's weird how that works. I mean, I didn't do jiu-jitsu. I wrestled all through high school. That was my best natural sport. But I remember that's the same thing. Like if something ever would happen, you just like it with just natural. The only problem is like wrestling kind of sucks for a fight because I'd always end up putting a guy in like a cradle or something.
Yeah, I had a dude take a swing on me one time, and I hip tossed him, blocked him and hip tossed him, and I thought I fucking killed him.
On the cement, you could.
Yeah. No, it was on the cement. I thought he was dead. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to prison.
That's when you run.
That's why you go to running class after jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Man, Dave knows. Dave says, hey, Paul, can you spare a penny? Yeah, he was in D.C. with me, man. They're fucking everywhere down there in D.C., man. These dudes that try to fucking steal you. They come up and they'll try to ask you for $1, and then you get your wallet out and they grab your wallet and run off. Just homeless people, just drug addicts. Dave was here, blue collar. He visited me and came down, and this guy came up and asked me for a penny when we were walking through DC, and I'm like, get fucked, man, get out of here. And he started mouthing off to me. I'm like, little guy, like, get the fuck out of here.
Nothing to lose, I guess. I mean,
are you guys allowed to have concealed carry up there?
I do.
Not in DC.
Where are you at, Kurt?
Jersey.
No, we're open carry in Michigan.
Yeah. When they ask for my wallet, I just take my gun out. They don't anymore.
I had one of my guys. I mean, you're a Virginia guy, John. You can conceal carry here, but as soon as you cross the line into the district, that's a felony.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Here.
I didn't pay attention during that part of the class. The only thing I remember
wasn't there something recently where they're supposed to have reciprocity for all 50 states?
I saw something about that.
Yeah, it's called the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. Well, because That happens sometimes. You'll see on the news because Michigan's open carry. You know, I mean, you can get concealed, but like you can walk around as long as it's visible with anything. And I hate that people do it because it's going to get it taken away. But people do. They'll walk around open carry, but then they go travel. They drive somewhere without even thinking. And
Yeah,
see the news.
I had one of my employees get arrested in D.C. He had a concealed carry, and he was in D.C. and a cop asked him if he had a gun. He's like, "Yeah, I have a concealed carry," and the fucking cop arrested him. I've never seen so many people open carry until I went to Texas. I remember the first time I went to Texas and I was walking around the mall and I'm like, everybody's wearing a cowboy hat and has a gun on their side. I'm like, this is some crazy shit, man.
Those are the last guys you got to worry about, though. No, I mean,
no, that's
open carry sounds stupid. But
I bet you didn't get robbed there though.
Nope.
we get it here where like people just are assholes about it. Well, they'll have like a rifle walking through Walmart.
Oh, just to prove a point. Like,
Oh god, I hate it.
John,
man,
you can open carry in Virginia, right? I think so.
Can you?
Man.
Here, you can conceal carry.
Yeah, I don't think you can open carry here. Man, I'm gonna fuck this up. I don't know. I just know I have mine concealed. I just carry it with me.
Technically, you can always conceal carry if it's
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. Virginia is an open carry state.
It is.
There you go.
I don't see people here doing it, but I mean, you can open carry here.
No, dude, why would you? Because I mean, I'm down here at the beach.
Bullets.
Down here at the beach, we've got the Navy SEALs. We've got Little Creek, Norfolk Naval Weapons Station, like Yorktown, all the big Navy bases and stuff, and Dev Crew and all the guys are down here. So it's like, be weird if like a normal civilian was going around trying to act tough when like everyone in the car is like a SEAL or Delta or something.
Yeah, you got the Navy SEALs there in Norfolk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got actual real badasses walking around.
All right, Nick, are you guys allowed to have weapons in Australia?
Oh no, right?
No, so there was
You have a pencil longer than 3 inches.
Yeah, there was one mentally unstable dude in Tasmania back in the 90s. He shot up a cafe, and that was enough for Australia to just ban guns nationwide. Everyone handed their guns in, which is the dumbest move. But
that's
the way they
crazy
did it was,
to me.
Yeah, the way they did it was, we will give you a few $100s for every weapon you have, and so everyone just thought, oh, money. And so people did that, and then they no longer have like arms to protect themselves, and then they just changed the laws when they realized,
that shit would never happen here.
5%.
When the first response you'll get if you say that online, that'll never happen here, and someone will say, "Oh yeah, you're going to fight the government? They have nukes." I hate that argument, because if there's any people who should have guns, it's the people who have a government who's willing to use nukes against them. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
The reason for not having a gun is because you think the government has bigger guns and they'll use them on you. That's why you need them.
Yes.
They do gun buybacks here, but sometimes like dealers and stuff will cut the line and talk to people and be like, "Hey, I'll give you this for your guns instead of turning them in."
When I was a kid, I don't know where it was like in other states, but when I was a kid, they were hanging out at Walmart, there was a gun shelf, and they weren't even behind glass. We used to go to Ace Hardware and buy one. I bought my 410. I bought at Ace Hardware in downtown Capac.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I remember that, man. Where you just fucking buy a gun in the department store.
Yeah.
Was it Sears? Like they had everything at Sears.
Oh yeah, Sears. Good old days.
I don't know if Walmart still does or not, but Walmart used to have things at Walmart.
No, I think for a while you could get muzzle loaders, but I haven't seen anything in Walmart in forever.
They even took them out of Dick's Sporting Goods too.
Yep.
I bought a shotgun there one time.
I bought a shotgun there too. Yeah,
Yeah, I still want to move to America. I'm sick of this no gun bullshit.
It has its plus and minuses. It's not perfect here, that's for sure.
Come for PED, stay for the Second Amendment. Nice, dude. That's right.
Hey guys, I don't mean to cut the conversation, but I'm getting the evil eye. We have my wife's cousin is in a band. He's from down south, but they're up in Michigan, and so we have to head out there to go see him tonight.
Oh, nice.
All right, my man.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, in that case, guys, thank you guys, Nick, Kurt, Big Paul, Justin, and myself. And we want to thank all you guys for supporting. Make sure to check out troponensupplements.com for any sales and or specials we got going on. And until next time, Make sure you guys check out Goon Platoon, watch this episode, and we'll see you later.
See you.